Welcome to another video of Optatube. You know, we often think about who has the most oil or gas, right? But what if the real power isn't about who owns the energy, but who controls the roads it has to travel on? Today, we're diving deep into the world's energy choke points to figure out who really holds the keys to our global economy.
So, to get to the bottom of who's in control, we've got to make sure we're all on the same page. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is an energy choke point?
Okay, picture this. It's like the entire world's energy supply is on a massive superhighway. But every so often, that highway narrows down to a single, tiny lane. These are the choke points. All that oil, all that gas has to squeeze through these incredibly tight passages. And if that traffic gets jammed up, even for a day, trust me, the whole world feels the shockwave.
Now, this right here is the absolute key to understanding the whole issue. The problem isn't that we're running out of energy in the ground. No. The real problem is that there are so few physical routes to actually move it from point A to point B. I mean, you can't just send a tanker of LNG over Wi-Fi, right? It has to travel. And it's this scarcity of routes that gives these choke points such immense strategic power.
So where are these critical spots on the map? We're talking about legendary names like the Strait of Hormuz, which is basically the main exit for the Persian Gulf. Then you've got the Strait of Malacca, the superhighway connecting the Indian and Pacific Oceans. And of course, the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal. Each one of these is a vital and incredibly vulnerable link in the chain that powers our world.
But just knowing where they are is only half the story. The really fascinating part is who controls them. And let me tell you, it is never, ever simple. To really get what I mean, let's zoom in on probably the most famous and definitely the most tense choke point of them all, the Strait of Hormuz.
To get a sense of the scale we're talking about, just look at this number. About a fifth, 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil consumed on the entire planet, passes through this one narrow stretch of water every single day. That's not even counting the massive amounts of liquefied natural gas, LNG, that also has to make the trip. I mean, we're talking about the main export route for giants like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Qatar. Its importance is just staggering.
Which brings us right back to the big question. With so much on the line, you'd think one single country or maybe one big alliance would have it locked down, right? Well, the reality on the ground, or on the water, I guess, is so much more complicated than that.
And this is where it gets really interesting. See, control isn't about a deed of ownership. It's this constant high-stakes game of push and pull. You've got Iran, which sits right on the strait's edge, giving it huge geographic leverage. Then you have the U.S. Navy and its allies, acting as a kind of global security patrol. Of course, the Gulf states themselves have a massive stake, since their economies completely depend on it. And then there's this other group you might not think about, the insurers and shippers. They can exert incredible power just by deciding how much it costs to sail through. It's this messy, shared, and always shifting power struggle.
Now, just to show you that not all choke points are the same, let's compare Hormuz to another crucial passage, the Strait of Malacca. It's like night and day. Hormuz is all about military tension and geopolitics. Malacca, on the other hand, is mostly managed by the countries right next to it, like Malaysia and Indonesia, and their biggest worries? Things like shipwrecks, traffic jams, and pirates. It's a completely different kind of risk and a completely different power dynamic.
All right, let's zoom out a little. We've seen that control is messy, but the way these choke points actually affect you and me often comes down to one simple, powerful idea: risk. The idea of risk, the perception of it, can be just as potent as a tanker actually getting blocked.
So here's how it works. It's like a chain reaction. Someone makes a threat and a choke point. Immediately, bam, the insurance premiums for any ship that has to go through there just skyrocket. Then the energy traders see this, and they start betting the prices are going to rise. And all of that frantic betting on what the price will be in the future actually drives up the price of oil for everyone right now. And here's the wild part. All of this can happen before a single barrel of oil is even delayed.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The psychological game, the fear of what might happen, is a weapon all by itself. Being able to manipulate that fear is a huge part of what it means to have control over a choke point.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about giant ships and narrow straits. But hey, a huge chunk of the world's energy moves over land. So, are there invisible choke points we're not seeing?
Oh, absolutely. They might not get the same splashy headlines as a naval standoff, but pipeline choke points are every bit as critical. They're like a hidden network, an underground nervous system that is just as open to geopolitical games.
Just think about it. For decades, the pipelines that crossed through Ukraine were a massive choke point for Russian gas on its way to Europe, and that gave Ukraine incredible leverage. The BTC pipeline is this super important route for Caspian oil that totally bypasses Russia. And the Druzhba pipeline, it's been like a main artery, pumping Russian oil straight into Europe. With these, control isn't about warships. It's about transit fees, political deals, and who has the power to literally turn off the tap.
Okay, so let's shift gears and look to the future. As the world starts moving away from fossil fuels, you think these choke points would just fade away, right? Become historical footnotes? Well, the answer is kind of yes, but also a big no. The choke points aren't disappearing, they're just evolving.
What's so fascinating is that we can already see the new choke point starting to form. Instead of oil, we're going to be talking about the supply chains for critical minerals needed for batteries and wind turbines. Instead of LNG carriers, it'll be ships carrying hydrogen. And instead of pipelines, we might be looking at giant international power grids, where the physical connectors between countries become the new strategic prize. The game stays the same, it's just the pieces that change.
So, after all that, what are the big things to remember? First, control is always complicated. It's shared, it's contested, it's never absolute. Second, markets run on emotion. The threat of a problem is often as powerful as the problem itself. Third, the future isn't getting rid of choke points, it's just creating new ones. And finally, and this is the most important part, these faraway places have a very real, very direct impact on your wallet and on national security. This intersection of geography and market dynamics is what we explore constantly. So if you are interested in the energy market and power system modeling, and for more updates and insights about the global energy market, make sure you follow the Optatube YouTube channel.
And that leaves us with one final huge question to think about. We are living through a massive redrawing of the world's energy map. The old rules are being rewritten as we speak. So, as we step into this new future, the fundamental question is still there. Who is going to control the choke points of tomorrow?